All right, colleagues, good afternoon. Welcome to the day 5 of the Global Entrepreneurship Week. This afternoon, we've invited Re Huitsimang J. Kutsafalo to join us for this session of the Global Entrepreneurship Week to share with us about the startup journey, what it takes to be resilient. This is one gentleman who's been fairly resilient in his startup journey. I know him from Francistown, where we met many years ago. He's built quite many interesting startups. He was doing so many things with the schools. Now he's got a podcast. Now he's actually doing one project called the Project 124. So we also invited Re Kagiso Koyabe, who works with the Botswana Innovation Hub, to share perspective on this journey for startups. What are the lessons? What are the pitfalls? And that's how we'll be proceeding. So for this session, we've timed it at 1 hour. It's a discussion. The way it goes is that the speakers or the lead discussants will talk for 10 minutes, then they pause, and then you can ask them questions on the live feed. So we are projecting this on the Project 124 Facebook page. We are also broadcasting this on the Global Entrepreneurship Week Botswana Facebook page. So feel free to participate virtually from wherever you are in the world. So Mr. Kutsafalo, at this juncture, let me give you the platform to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about your work at 124 and why 124. Then we can hand over to Re Kagiso Koyabe to introduce himself. Then from there, we circle back to Re Kutsafalo to jump in on the content of the topic of the day.
Yes, okay, so thank you very much. May I also greet everyone. Thank you very much for having me and for giving me this opportunity to sit here and actually, speak to you on this topic. And as we celebrate entrepreneurship in the world, my name is Huitsimang Kutsafalo. I am an author. I write books within business and entrepreneurship. I also am the CEO of Launch It International, which is a business and entrepreneurship development agency. We run Project 124 entrepreneurship program, which is reaching 200 entrepreneurs a year. Right now, we have reached about 1,094 in the last 4 years. And my job, specifically within the entrepreneurship space, has been cultivating the entrepreneurship culture itself. Assisting entrepreneurs who want to start their businesses and they don't know where to start, and connecting them to investors and all of that capacity building. I've been in the game for about 8 years, and like Mogets was saying, I have been working specifically with an NGO that I started when I was 18. And since day one of that NGO to this very day, I have been engaged, full hands-on on the community development. And right now, I'm specifically working with entrepreneurs. And lastly, I also host a show on RB2 FM. It's a local urban radio station which reaches a lot of people around the country. And my job there is to host the business and entrepreneurship development show, where we celebrate what Botswana entrepreneurs are doing, and we have time to sit down and actually empower them on a weekly basis every Monday at 2 p.m. My co-host is a well-known, phenomenal young lady called Kumo Khwadira, or Miss GKs, and we do this job every single week. So this is me, and Marcus, like he said, I also have a podcast that I do every single week as well, to cover some of the stories and the wisdom and the perspective that we want to share with the people. So I'm really happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right, should I jump straight in, Moketsi? Okay, I think that's me. All right, good afternoon, all, and everybody who's watching online. My name is Kagiso Koyabe. I guess I'm an enterprise support professional. I've been working in this sector for now almost, I guess, around as long as Re Kutsafalo has been pushing his projects, just over 8 years. My background, previously having been with the Private Sector Development Program, which was a pilot program run by the government of Botswana and the donor community, supporting SMMEs across various sectors throughout the country, focusing mostly on capacity building and market access activities. I've also had a little bit of background experience in the financial services sector, where I was working specifically with employee benefits and investments. Currently stationed at the Botswana Innovation Hub in its flagship program, of course, the incubation program, the First Steps Venture Center. I joined them earlier this year, focused in the acceleration component of the program, where we try to assist companies which are beyond the prototype stage of their solutions, with their final bits of capacity building in preparation for commercialization and broader market access and promotion, not only to the market but also to the various stakeholders that might be required to deliver their solutions. So I've been working with enterprises for quite some time, especially micro and small medium enterprises, looking at their various challenges in different parts of the world. My current engagement, I guess, came at a very interesting time, working with startups, a very dynamic group of innovative startups that we're working with here under very unique conditions. As we all know, startup conditions are quite difficult on any other given year, but specifically this year offered quite a bit of opportunities and challenges for them in that regard. I think we'll share a bit more as we go along. Thank you.
So thank you very much for that interesting introduction, Rekusafalo Rekoyabe. Let me circle back immediately to Rekusafalo. Rekusafalo, entrepreneurship is very hard. Entrepreneurship is not so rosy. You've been at it for 8 years. You could have, at 8 years, taken 4 government loans if you work in government. If you were in the private sector, you'd be driving a very nice, sexy car. So tell me, what has kept you patient in this journey to be doing what you're doing? Maybe take us through just your journey so that we start, so that people really understand what has taken you to be where you are in the last 8 years.
Thank you very much, Moketi, for that. I think my 8 years has taught me one thing: to be able to know the difference between entrepreneurs and business people. And usually when we see people who are in business, we always tend to define them by either of the term. Somebody can say I'm an entrepreneur, another one could say I'm a business person. But the perspective and the narrative of this is built by so many things. And for me, what 8 years has taught me, vis-a-vis the opportunities that came upon the job that I do and the choices that I had to make in the process of being an entrepreneur, is what I feel like is the greatest essence of today's message. I learned through experience that entrepreneurship is about, solving problems, but it's mostly about studying how people live their lives, and then you identify problems that they have in their lives, and then you think and create a solution, and then you enterprise the solution, and then that solution is the one that gets you into this field where we call it the business. And this is something that doesn't just carry sentimental value. It carries more than just, I have a business. It carries a vision. It carries purpose. It carries the very reason why you want to continue existing on earth. And for business people's sake, I have learned that this is more about, not studying people's life per se to create solutions, but studying markets to identify products and services that are profitable. And then you use your advantage, comparative advantage, whatever you have, geographical advantage, so that you can take those products into your market, sell them at a margin, and you own a business, so that you enterprise your opportunity. Well, entrepreneurs enterprise their solutions. So if you look closely, entrepreneurs own the product and services, but business people own the market. So for me, I have thought that this is a very critical lesson for any entrepreneur and a business person. If you see yourself getting into this journey and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, you need to know that the experiences that you will have as an entrepreneur is not the experiences that somebody who is a business person will have. the break even for you does not come at the same time that it comes for a business person. I mean, I will go through explaining to you so that you can see the depth of what I mean by this. When you look at what we call the JCAV, and I can show you in a bit so that you can get to understand exactly what a JCAV is. So JCAV is something that allows you to see perspectives into seeing exactly what is it that I have to be able to do for me to understand where I am as a business person. So if you look into this that I'm going to project to you in a few minutes. So every business starts from somewhere. So there are businesses that, start with an idea, that those that start with a resource, that those start with an opportunity, with a concept, something, but they all start from somewhere. So how long this JCAV will move in your journey is different from you as entrepreneurs as it is to business people. So this JCAV for some people, it may take 10 years. For entrepreneurs, it may take 6 months for business people for this specific reason. So this line, the black line where the the arrow crosses there, is the lifeline of every business when it starts. So this is the value of your investment from day one. So the moment you start this journey, your graph, your performance, your money, your value, everything always goes under the water. So you start having debts, you start, not making money, and it takes so much time for you to break even, for you to be able to produce, profit, and just this whole process. It can take entrepreneurs about 10 years of this same process. There are even $1 trillion worth companies like Amazon that still haven't, broke even. And I know it's something that is very easy for us to be able to talk about it every time when we talk about, how easy or how hard entrepreneurship is. But the fact remains that entrepreneurship is not easy. And to be resilient, for me, it's not only about having the tenacity and the power to keep moving despite what you see. It's for you to be able to stand the challenges and the circumstances. The moments where you are asking yourself, is this really worth it? The moments when there's so many opportunities that even comes to you individually just because you are yourself. So this is very important for you to know that your vision that you saw at the very beginning when you started your job, your company actually, it will be tested. And when it does, like me, testing is different. There are seasons where you are tested by extreme poverty and extreme lack, and you get evicted from your house, you get evicted from your office, you miss out on very big opportunities. People betray you, others just plan sabotages. There's a whole lot of storm that just come to any big vision that is trying to be established. And to be able to stand through such kind of a storm, it takes a great idea. It takes more than a great idea. It takes more than a brilliant concept. It takes more than the market opportunity you have. It takes more than how good you are with the pitch. It takes more than how your numbers looks like. It takes your mental capacity. It takes your heart, tenacity, and the guts to still stand and say, I'm gonna push through this thing, because it's not so easy. I have seen businesses that died, but when you look at the concept and the idea and the funding that backed that idea, you see this was gonna be something so big. But because the entrepreneur who is running the same business doesn't have that within their character, they don't have it within their personality to keep fighting for their vision, their companies die. I have seen people with half the talent, half the resources, half everything, or even nothing whatsoever, but they've got the passion and the vision to see that thing going forward and succeeding somewhere. And I have seen those people actually, thriving and growing in the process. And when I look at myself, I don't look at myself as a success from my point of view of this is how much I have achieved, things that I have built for this and that and that. I know I have a lot of those things, but I look at myself as a success from the point of view of I know the things I have been through. Most of them I don't talk about them. I mean, for you, markets, I always tell you my challenges, but the fact that you are able to stand, but especially even right now in this time of COVID-19, in 2020, where there's all kinds of storm from everywhere, economic, disease, restrictions, just performance, the buy-in, purchase power, everything has just come crippling in, not only to you, but to every person, big or small, who's running a business. And the ability to stand within this type of moment, that is what we call resilience. So it's not built by reading books. It's not built by going and attending workshops and listening to stories of inspiring people. It is not built by having a great concept with a great team that thinks ahead. It takes you, the person who is running this thing. Do you have the guts, the tenacity, and the intentionality to stand when you get shaken up? Because the truth is, you will get shaken up. And when that happens, whether you were funded by $10 million or you were not funded at all, whether the government supports your project or it does not, whether you have this opportunity or you don't have that opportunity, it does not matter. The fact remains, you will be tested. And when you get tested, either by a struggle or by opportunity, the question is, will you stand? I'll let you in a secret. I have been approached on a number of cases by so many different companies, so many different government offices, so many big people who say, you know what, my guy, you're a great guy, project manager, everything. We feel like you are wasting your great skill on something that doesn't work. Here's an opportunity. Just quit what you do. Come and do this for us. And that was a house, and a car, Mercedes-Benz. And that was a great money every single month. And this is like the whole temptation of standing within that thing. When you look at your not so making money project vis-a-vis the opportunity that you can make, and life even asks you questions. You're going to have children one day. What are they going to inherit from you? You want to get married, you don't have the money, you don't have everything. But when you compare both of this, then you start seeing there that, was this idea that I wanted to do really worth it? So I'll stop here for now. Thank you very much.
Sorry, you're on mute there, Mokete. Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch what you had said. You were still on mute.
Yeah, I was saying, there it is. You had it raw.
Yeah,
that it's not as rosy as people make it seem. I mean, Kusafalo is a great entrepreneur. They're trying to poach him and put him in the corporate world and lock him up. And how does he keep at it? I mean, it's so amazing that he's shared such insights. I mean, maybe you could make a comment on that. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, firstly, I really want to accord him on having the mindset to persist through all these times. I know that at the moment we're consumed with this COVID-19, and to some people this is the biggest interruption they've had. But I'm sure with the extent of experience that Mr. Kutsafalo has, he survived a couple of recessions and downturns. And there's something that he spoke to that really resonates with me about the difference, or comparing an entrepreneur or somebody who's maybe just coming up with an idea versus a businessman. And we tend to see a lot of startups who are challenged by this transition of going from this ideation stage of this great prototype that you believe solves a problem, and now actually trying to run this as a business, having to deal with the daily pitfalls and the expenses or the things that require your attention on a monthly basis. Worse more of when you have your own employees or people that are relying on you on a monthly basis to help them make ends meet. And it ties into something that I had wanted to chip in to say, one aspect that has really become a clear indicator of perseverance and the right type of entrepreneur or businessman that we need to move our economy and our nation forward is the mental fortitude that one has, being able to take those psychological knocks, being able to adapt through the times while you were still meeting your obligations, and being able to identify areas of possible additional income that might not be core to what you are driving as your main business solution, and maintaining that focus throughout. We do know that some of the best businesses are built under these times, and I just wanted to throw in to add that another very important thing that has become more and more visible, and that we've seen more businesses getting akin to, is to leverage as much as possible where we can the technology that is available to us, especially when it comes to co-creation and reduction of our costs. One beautiful thing, which is testament through even this Gen Week, is as much as this virus has put all of us indoors and in our own home countries, it has sort of, through the virtual world, opened us up to quite a wide network of other Africans who are facing similar problems in their own backgrounds, who have some skill sets that we might not have here, but who are very open to working with us. And we're seeing the emergence of very strong regional companies at a SADC level. And I think that, just to say that, as entrepreneurs, it's very easy to want to take it alone. This is your baby. You want to handle all of the problems and issues yourselves. But I think this is a great time that has shown testament to, the value of collaboration, whether it's locally with other companies, within your value chain, or across borders, to try to, accentuate whatever it is that you're trying to bring to the market, and to get the best out of the product that you're putting across. So I think, yeah, he's spot on that. And just to, sorry, there's a bit of feedback. Just to borrow something from, what one of my former directors used to say to us, is that, he used to say point blank to people that not everybody is built for this entrepreneurship game. And, somewhere along the way, you're going to lose a couple of people, but it is those with that mental fortitude and persistence that we see coming through with businesses that grow on to become, 10-year overnight successes, as people tend to say.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. We even have a comment there. We're just going to show one of the comments. We have Rita Tamaya, I think Mr. Zafalo, he says that she said that, so basically entrepreneurship is about making a difference in people's lives, using the solution to the problem you have identified, with intention to make money from it. Of course, it's a business, business where you are driven by making profit. Correct me if I'm wrong. There seems to be a fine line between the two. Mr. Kutafalo, I guess that's your question to answer. What's your thoughts on what Puton is saying?
Yes, thank you, and thank you very much, Huitiona, for the comment. I think one of the things that we continually have to speak to when this issue is being addressed, of where exactly does profit feature in what you are doing, is that there's a lot of people whom, when we speak like this, they assume that what we are saying is that when you are an entrepreneur, then therefore you are not called to make money. And that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is the profit period of what you are doing does not come as early as it does to other people. So there's a lot of time, there's a lot of things that you have to go through a lot of times. It's just because you are an entrepreneur, and just because you are the person who is birthing a concept. And I'll give you a scenario. Like I was showing you the JCAV. You brought something into earth that never existed. And if this thing was to ever be called a viable project, something that is viable, it means that you went through the whole design thinking process, and the people are able to accept it, and there are people whom this solution is solving that problem, and therefore they're willing to pay you enough to reproduce and produce margins and profits. So that, just one simple sentence, it looks very simple, but the period that it takes for that to be a reality in your journey as an entrepreneur is not as fast as it is for other people who are just business people. So this is what I'm saying. In the JCAV of the entrepreneurs, this is where the business people feature. So you have to go underwater alone as an entrepreneur with your concept to prove it, to birth it out. And if that takes you 10 years, this is the time when there's no money that is coming into your life. It does not mean that changing life, it means you won't make the money. The money comes but it does not come as early as it does for somebody who came later in the journey after your 10 years of suffering with the concept, and now because it works, and now because it solves people's problems. And the only challenge that they have to go through to implement your concept or your idea or to use your product is just to market it around and get people to know that you have it so you can sell it to them, not to, to give it. So that's the challenge that the business people have versus the challenges that entrepreneurs have. So a business person will basically spend more money. So you need money to go and acquire the product. And so the challenge that you have is either people are not buying or maybe you're not marketing the whole thing enough. So you're just trying to get it, but you're already selling a proven concept that has been proven by the entrepreneur. So that might take you 6 months to a year or even 2 years to get it running. But what you are solving as a business person at the time, that challenge is not the challenge and is not size. It should not be mistaken by the extreme, struggle that entrepreneurs go through just to get their products and services, being viable. So it does happen in the JCAF of an entrepreneur that after you go under the water and after you are able to prove that this thing is viable and it starts to make profits, then your business can be able to scale. So you move from working in the business where it was so hard for you because you are alone to working on the business. So you are now focused on the scaling part, and scaling is easy. With anything that has succeeded and passed the test of time, the period afterwards is always simpler and easier than it is for so many people. So that is the time when the results and the rewards come. So the question is, how many people within this journey are willing to stay as long as it takes to reap those rewards? Because for some people, it would take 10 years. For some entrepreneurs, it took 20 years. And for some entrepreneurs, they have been starting as when I was born. And to this day, their businesses are still not break even, but they still believe it's not the delusions of the grandeur where people feel like, you are just being rock-headed, you don't want to change your thing. This thing is not working out, try something else. It's because you can see the vision. You can see where you are going. So what pushes you is not the money. So you are willing to stand now and not make the money because you know the money will come. So even if a business person start a business today with you and 6 months they're buying a car and you are not buying a car even in 10 years, it's about you knowing where you're going.
So my assumption is this needs military. This sounds like it's something that requires military training to stay in it, the way you put it. Mr. Kagiso, this sort of world that we're in, while Refi Safari is projecting his presentation that he wants to show to us, I mean, I hear him saying, this is so hard, it requires military. Some people have said this pandemic is best to be solved by military people and people from the forces because they've been trained to actually deal with such situations. Are we saying that in 2021 and beyond, the only way for you to survive, you need to have this this thing in you that's more military resilient and to stay the course?
Thanks for that. Although I think maybe I don't think he's being that harsh. I really like his realist approach. I really like that. I just wanted to add that earlier on you were referring to issues of competitive advantage, and recently I was in a forum and somebody broke competitive advantage a bit further down. Not to say that competitive advantage is more than just whether you were the first mover, whether you have the lowest price. It also takes into consideration other aspects of your journey, like that Khutsafalo has spoken to. Your persistence and experiences over the years are part of a very unique point and perspective into your market that many people might not have. In that journey that you might have undertaken, maybe whether it's over 2 or 3 years or 4 years, you've had opportunities to engage directly with your market, to get feedback from them. And over that time, chances are, we hope, of course, is that you've improved how you're doing or how you're running your business in a way that is, progressive. And those are very unique, and those are very unique advantages that each company would have. But to speak more to your point, I think one thing that I've also really got to appreciate is the the role of mentors in helping entrepreneurs get to where they need to get to without necessarily going through every single mistake and barrier that they had to go through. Having a mentor who can open doors for you and who can give you insights from a bird's eye view with the idea and the perspective of an experience of industry, having been in the markets or whatever sector that they have been, is a very unique enabler for an entrepreneur. And I think as entrepreneurs within our ecosystem, we need to become more and more receptive of the concept of being mentored. I know it seems very straightforward, but what we've seen is that entrepreneurs are usually quite hard in terms of opening up to their mentors, telling them, being honest with them about their problems, being honest with them about their traction, and being honest with them about where they want to see the company going and whether their journey with the company is right to the end or whether they're in this just to sell it. I think that's something that it's definitely enshrined in our culture as Botswana. Going back is maybe something we lost along the way, which is that intergenerational transfer and oral experience sharing. And I think that is something that we really need to speak up to. We know that the startup ecosystem is comprised of a lot of young and vibrant and dynamic people who have great ideas to solve current problems, but we cannot expect them to have all of the experiences that they need to have to compete in this increasingly global world. And that is where really we can see more of our more seasoned forebearers and captains of industry coming in and playing that role of the mentor who gives them that insight and tries to show them those pitfalls before they fall into them and help them structure their businesses to be resilient and be able to ride through the kind of difficulties that they are currently facing. And in addition to that, these people have been through those hard times. They've had, to downsize their living. They've had to, explain, like Rakutsafala was saying, explain to their significant others, why kids have to change schools and why they have to sell cars. And they know the pains of those, and they can share their experiences and their tips on how to survive those based on that, and not based on an academic approach that might not have that insight. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can, Mr. Kutsafalo, I guess you had something you wanted to show in terms of your work. I just want to ask, I've seen your work that you're doing 124 in Maung. You're doing project 124 in Francistown. You have also done project 124 in Gaborone. For those that are listening, for an asset like that you've built, how do they support you besides asking you to come work for them? What do you think is the practical support that Project 124 could get so that it can help more entrepreneurs to be more resilient the way you have done it?
Yeah, and thank you very much, Mwaketsi, for that one. I think you see how you were even starting the previous comment that you issued about how entrepreneurship development sounds more military. The fact remains that it actually is military. And part of the reason why programs like Project 124 exist is because we appreciate the intensity of what entrepreneurs must be trained through. It takes a lot of training for somebody to fully grasp exactly what is it that you are teaching them. When you take an entrepreneur, for example, and put them in a class, in a workshop, and explain the concepts to them, they get it, they write it down on their notes, and they think they get it. Just like any other student, even in school. I was like that also. If you give me a test or an exercise during class, I can always get the math concept. But once you leave and I get outside the classroom, I get home, tomorrow you ask me what was this, I even forget it. So this is why we have today a lot of entrepreneurs who would tell you, they'll show you certificates of trainings they've attended. But see how they perform, when they are in their offices. They perform as people who they didn't even go for any further training at all. So this is why Project 124, it's 90% practical training of entrepreneurship for people to really get exactly. When we say this is how you market, we don't tell you. We put you on the ground and say market. After you do it, then we will correct you where you were wrong. And then we put you back it again. And this is done by mentors who are not, So I'm the nice guy in Project 134. Everybody is not as nice as I am. I mean, they're mostly like markets. If you know markets, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So those people, the pleasure of having a program which is run by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs is that, like Akisa was saying, the value of mentorship cannot be changed or traded with anything when it comes to building an entrepreneur and a successful business. So imagine a Project 124 as a platform that brings all these things together, brings the mentorship, the training that the entrepreneurs really need. And I'm glad that when we go to different places, like we are doing in Gaborone, we did also in Mau and Francistown, and also excitedly, I'm happy to make this announcement that Project Action 124 is not only happening here in Botswana, it's happening in Namibia, it's happening in South Africa and Eswatini. And people, when they look at it as an international program, they don't look back into where it comes from. There are people who maybe because we work with Holland Life and they know it from South Africa, they always assume we went to take Project 124 somewhere and then we came and implemented here. They don't really understand that we, Botswana young entrepreneurs, are the one who built Project 124 from scratch, ran it for 3 full years, call it tough until corporate that's say, let's help you with this. And I appreciate this because Holland Life came on board 2018 and they said, we see what you are doing, the fire that you've created. And this is exactly what we have to replicate on the other entrepreneurs around the country. So what do you need? And I told them, like, this is what I need and this and this. And they said, then from this day, we will sponsor you on some of those activities. And the question is it enough? No, it is not enough. I know because when you help Huitiman Kutsafola, for example, or Project 124, you're not just helping him. You are helping all the other entrepreneurs and the young people that follow the things that he does. Because the question that I always ask, even our participants, all our partners and everything, is that at the end of Project 124, you, the participant, you got all the training and all of that. The partners, they got the mileage, the branding, and all of that. And what does Kutsafalo get? And this is the defining thing for me, for everyone who wants to help entrepreneurs. Everyone who help entrepreneurs these days is because there's something they want to benefit out of it. If it's not for those that, it's a job that is given to them. So this is why they are people who should help entrepreneurs, but they are not because they are looking more on what do I get from it. I know, when it's tough like this, you really need to make ends meet everywhere. But when it comes to this mission of building entrepreneurs, the only difference between me and the rest of the people is how far we are willing to go to do things for entrepreneurs, even when we are not getting paid to do it, even if I have to do it for 10 full years. So that's where people would say we don't go into that. So even corporate who want to say, Kutsafalo, we want to work with you in this and this and that. So this is what I am looking into. Long-term relationships, working with people who really get it, who understand what entrepreneurship is about. If you say, I'm going to give this to entrepreneurs, and you have to really understand what an entrepreneur really has to go through to get to this stage that you imagine that they should. Because if you're going to give him as a help for 1 year or 2 months, and you think that's going to help make a difference in their life, it shows that you don't really get what this thing is really about. So if you are creating long-term sustainable programs and solution and interventions to help entrepreneurs, that's where you start. Learn entrepreneurship first. So the place where I feel people and corporate and government needs to really help entrepreneurs is not just sponsoring Project 124. There's so many of them. There's what we preach about all day along at Launch International about supply development. When corporate do supply development, they are served daily by entrepreneurs. And they are entrepreneurs that they reject daily when they are doing RFQs and all of these other things. Before you reject those entrepreneurs, why don't you call them and develop them, show them, this is why I'm rejecting you. See the opportunities that you can create for all the people that are supplying you as a corporate. When you're creating projects, you create different layers of that project. So there's the big side where you can be able to participate for whatever KPIs you have, but you always create a thin layer to supply and to give opportunity to small people, entrepreneurs that they want. The truth is, even right now, and this is what I was thinking this morning, half of staff almost everywhere are working at home. And again, there are entrepreneurs who really need working spaces, but they can't get it. So the question is, all these thousands of desks that are empty everywhere, what is stopping that same corporate to move every of their staff on the other side of the wall and they say, hey, we have about 10 spaces for entrepreneurs. And you're not just calling anybody. You are asking people that by being part of your building or somewhere, they're also part of your network. They're part of your mentorship program. They're part of your supply chain. You export. You don't have to spend money all the time in helping entrepreneurs. It's just moving your resources around and seeing how does just this guy being here help him to be. For example, the value that people place right now on Project 124, most of them, they place it from the point of view of seeing Holland involved in it. And there are people who place it, the value on Project 24 based on seeing my face on it. So this is what I say, the brand equity that even corporate can actually provide entrepreneurs just by saying, come and work here. This is a desk, do what you do. And whenever there's jobs that they can do, whenever there's always value they can add, that alone is what entrepreneurs need, because you are not the one they want to convince or they want to do business with. There's a lot of people out there they want to reach by the association with you. That's what I feel could make the difference.
Thank you for challenging corporates. You have just ignited my energy. I'm very energized about what you have just spoken about. Maybe before I interface Rekagiso, let me say I do applaud you personally as a startup champion and ecosystem builder. I mean, just to tell you practically, I mean, I know a lot of young people. I 3 weeks ago, I got a young person reaching out to me after your intervention, Komaung, and they tell me, Mr. Tekere, you know, I was part of 124 boot camp, Komaung Lodge, and my father has diabetes, and I would like to build a startup where I can easily find, you know, food and Uber food to people with diabetes. And I was so impressed, and she started sharing with me about how 124 actually inspired her. And I said, then beyond you guys now having left, who takes care of her? And I think this then speaks practically to the mentorship marketplace that Kagiso talks about. So maybe the next frontier to make sure platforms like 124 are able to get more traction and more funding, it would be for somebody to now create a marketplace where mentors can virtually from anywhere, working from home or whatever, or sitting from any office in any particular geographic position, start supporting those that attend your boot camps. So I think Halad should now maybe be challenged Kutafal, to now take it to the next level, because you guys have launched, you have got a pool of people in Francistown, in Gaborone, in Maung, and so on. And these people are busy launching, but they're lacking what Kagiso speaks about. And the other thing, you know, not to be so rosy about corporates. I mean, I wonder though, like, what is the KPI of, when I say KPI, I mean key performance indicator for corporates that give you the money, or they give you the resources or the branding? Is it them placing their brand, which is nice, I see them on your t-shirt, or is it actually like putting up 10 million pula and saying, Kutafalo, we don't want to see you for the next 3 years with 10 million pula, go and do your work, you know? Then you can think, you know, you can design your program properly, because you are not going to them every 3 months and saying, hey, Halad, can you give me another 50,000 pula or so on? What is the flexibility of these corporates on really supporting long-term vis-a-vis supporting short-term, which is 12 months, that you come back, you bag? Then finally, let me just ask, I mean, just the other day I heard that one of the organizations that's government, what is it called? Local Enterprise Authority, have been given 100 million pula to work with entrepreneurs. Shouldn't it be natural that organizations like the 124 should also get 10% or 1% of that money to work with entrepreneurs, so that the work of these organizations become easier? So maybe, Kagiso, you can comment on my thoughts, and then also we can feedback to Kutafalo to give us his thoughts on what I've proposed.
All right. Thank you once again, gentlemen. Just to jump on what Rakutsafala was saying before about, corporates coming to the party, and I love the idea of using up this vacant space because you're very right. A lot of our entrepreneurs really got hard hit by the cash flow situations, and a lot of them had to give up their rental spaces, but they still need to be out there on the ground. They don't have the luxury of working at home, and I like the idea of sharing space because we do know, especially in the private sector, the financial services sector, a lot of them are actually staying away from their offices. So there is an opportunity there. I just wanted to chip in to say, as much as we look to corporates, it's very important for them to support programs with resources and the like. But I think one really, really key thing is to see how we can, align the corporate personal development objectives that they give to employees to get tied in with, giving specific amount of time, to mentor, to talk to a specific SMME about any business issue. And this can be anybody in any business structure, whether you're working in the admin department, whether you're working in the marketing, accounts department of that corporate. Your insight is invaluable to a startup who is still trying to find his feet. And I think that over and above the resources that we talk about, one thing that is very important is time. Time with the entrepreneurs to talk about their businesses and their challenges. And it needn't be something that is so laborious and they have to book out their schedule. It could be as easy as asking for 4 lunches in a month, and that's 4 hours of mentorship. I mean, that's a practical way to approach it. And like you said, Amogeti, with people working at home, that sort of opens up the hours as well. We know that people are working, most people are working even a bit more and outside of the normal hours that they're used to. And this is something that we should look into as an ecosystem. And when we come back to your point about the budgeting around enterprise support organizations and these 100 million, I would really like to imagine a scenario where those enterprises work with organizations such as Rakutsafalo, like Project 124, and have it enshrined within their mandate, like you say, Moketi, to have some percentage of that income either go towards an organization like Project 124 that can assist these enterprises with experience-based handholding. I've had the pleasure of interacting with 1 or 2 of some of the first enrollees into the Project 124, and I can tell you for a fact, man, the approach to the tasks was really refreshing, and it really forced these entrepreneurs to put themselves out there. It forced them to get to understand themselves a bit better, get to understand their strengths, and get to know how to talk to the basic customer. We talk a lot about this, the entrepreneurship journey and the necessary skills and training going to it, being one of a military type style, but the way that they were going about it was more of a it was a fire first type of thing, and then go on to the market and then come back, let us tell you what you can do differently, and then fire back out. And that keeps the ecosystem energized. It keeps them wanting to try harder. It keeps them earning to grow. And I think that's a very important approach to that. And in so as to not crowd out the market and to continue to nurture the ecosystem, I think it is very important as a country to really look at a lot more different tiers of public and private partnerships. We know that there's a lot of business consulting firms and consultants in Botswana, and we know that there are some who are doing stellar work as well in that field, who have gone on to beyond the borders to duplicate some of their approaches. And what we need more of is we need more partnerships between organizations, whether it's corporate, whether it be government institutions, working with these enterprises. This will help improve their own capacity, reduce the pressure on the resources, and also provide that added push of legitimacy when that enterprise or when enterprises want to go outside of the country. It's a really big cosign, when you can, as a project like 124, when you can say, not only is our approach and our programming efficient, but we have been able to run it for X amount of years and have attracted the support and encouragement of corporates outside of our borders, and that speaks to a very strong fundamental in their approach. So, like you said, I'd like to see a lot more of, policy and strategy level incorporation of some aspect of enterprise support or SMME or startup support as a KPI tied to people's personal development. I think that'll be my comments there.
Yeah, and maybe to chip in also, Mogeti, on that same questions that you asked was that, we can never really divorce ourselves from mentorship. The value of it is impeccable. And I'm also happy to make mention of this, that as part of our traction as a program and as a company, is that we have taken it a step forward to actually even invest towards making mentorship really easy for anybody to do it for entrepreneurs, and so many other things that I'll be able to present about in time future. So when it comes to what Mr. Kagiso here is talking about, which I 100% really agree with that, because if you look at entrepreneurship support on its own and the people that really are interested in helping entrepreneurs, and the truth remains that most of the pitfalls that we have right now as a country when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs is that the truth and the common ground for all of us is that we really want to help those entrepreneurs. I feel like our country is actually one of the few countries that is really intentional about not only saying we are supporting, but actually even pushing out resources out there for entrepreneurs to be able to use. So even when it happens that the government gives Leah 100 million and say, go and work with entrepreneurs, my mind tells me that they're doing so because their passion to help entrepreneurs in what they already know is that the person they can really trust with this amount of money to be able to give to entrepreneurs and be able to help them is their very own organization. So the question comes into saying, what about that same organization? What is it that they know about entrepreneurship development? What is it that they know about entrepreneurship support? How much do they know and trust Project 124 enough to say, you are the person on the ground? Because the truth is, there's a lot of us who don't really understand our role in supporting entrepreneurs. So you may find that when you are given 100 million, you automatically think that it means that now the same 100 million, you are supposed to be the implementer on the same project. So that's the issue is now when you don't look at Project 124 as the implementer of the same drive of government to say, let's support entrepreneurs by 100 million. So you say, from that point of view, you don't give me 10% or 1% of that 100 million because I'm a young person and because I'm working with entrepreneurs. You give me that 10%, because you see me as a valuable key stakeholder and a key player in building entrepreneurs. And you are giving me because you know that I can do the job. And even if you are giving me, the thing that I always want to make people really rest their mind in getting to understand this is that giving Project 124 10% of 100 million is not giving us the money actually. You are giving a network of 1,340 entrepreneurs that we are now able to scale it down also the way you understand it. We trained these people. We know their challenges. We know what they want. Just yesterday at the Global Expo Botswana, the person who actually took number one on yesterday's pitch is our own alumni. We taught her how do you pitch. We know her struggles. We understand her when she says, give me 100,000 because this is how I want to scale my business. I'm not seeing her for the first time. I know when she came to me the first time and say, hey, I want to start doing this thing. And we trained her. And I've seen her use her own resources. And those resources built the company that she has of organic skincare, natural skincare products. And when she says to me, I need 100,000, I agree because I know the journey. I'm with her on the ground daily. But if she says to Leah, give me 100,000, she goes into another vetting process with other people who have not gone through the same struggle as her, who doesn't really get where she's coming from. Even the business plan cannot fully articulate the experience of somebody. But if you look at Project 124 from that point of view, as people that really know what's happening on the ground, and we're the same people who are, implementing this, we are not competing. We are literally doing exactly what the government says it must be done for entrepreneurs. So from this understanding, it should not be difficult for government to say, here's 10%. Not because Botswana say, why are you only giving Leah? Why are you only giving Cedar? But because they know before the 100%, 100 million is dispersed, they also understand who are the implementers. So Leah working with Project 124, for example, I don't want to think me and Leah are on the same size. We are not. We are two people who love entrepreneurs. And the very reason why we wake up in the morning is because we want to make it the world a better place for entrepreneurs to do business. So our working together is all identify our strengths. There are so many things that Leah really know how to do really well. And I really trust them and commend them on so many things that they achieve. The 1% that they probably don't have is 100% of what I have. So the synergy and the relationship and the affiliation, when it's built, is built from that point of view. So they will give me 10%, not because they must, but because they see the value in it. So that's how I think.
Thank you, colleagues. I didn't want, I guess this should have been brought in earlier, the issue of financing instruments to help those that have been resilient in building entrepreneurs. And it's really by coincidence or, you know, by choice that we deliberately invited Kutsafalo, because I can tell you, when I think about Project 124, I can say that concept or idea or product, it's not even an idea, it's a product now, you know. It's similar to the Tony Emilio Foundation concept, the TEF that everybody applies to. What a lot of people don't know, I was sitting in Nigeria many years ago when TEF was actually conceptualized in a hub called, you know, the CC Hub. It was a couple of guys who sat together and who said, what if we created something that could be global? And then they approached one of the richest people in Nigeria, and then the long story is gone. Okay, so I'm challenging those wealthy individuals, Botswana or Gaborone or anywhere in the region where Project 124 operates, to study the methodology behind this program and not really put in what I call PR support. Put in money. These guys are not only doing this thing for themselves. Like he said, they're working with thousands of entrepreneurs. You give them support, you know that they're going to support 1,000 entrepreneurs outside the capital cities. And what I like about them is that they're not city-centric, because we give this idea that people that build businesses are only in cities. They're going out of the villages where other people, they don't want to go. They're going out to the towns that where nobody else want to go. So they're actually building the pipeline of potential startups and potential companies that could tomorrow be celebrated. Like you were saying yesterday, there was a celebration of one person winning, but nobody knows that somebody else put in the hours to build that person to be on a stage where they can pitch in a global platform where you now give them money. And I challenge also, you know, Kutsafalo and his team to really be deliberate about the value of their product. What I mean here is it's really about time where you now become deliberate about putting the ticket very clear. If 124 is now at a point where it's creating traction and it's winning, you make sure you also win. What I mean is that start writing the right checks. And that's why I said Leah must give you 1 to 2% to 3% to 5%. And here I'm challenging them to give you 10 million. It's nothing. It's nothing, okay? Because 100 million is a lot of money for one guy. I don't know what one guy is going to do with 100 million. I wouldn't be greedy to keep all that money to myself. And I brought in Kagiso also because he's working with the Botswana Innovation Hub. We had a great partnership with them last year. It ended, I don't know what happened, but he knows that there's a need for other people to come in the ecosystem and do work like what Kutsafalo is doing. And these people, they need support. And that support can only come from government. It needs to come from wealthy guys. It needs to come from companies. And companies need to do it correctly. Companies need to do it correctly. That's why Kutsafalo said, Leah is not going to be an expert on what he's doing. Leah is going to look at him as an equal partner, and they're going to sit on the boardroom and they're going to sign an agreement with him. So it shouldn't be about him chasing them with a proposal to get 10 million. No, it should be the other way. If you want value, You have to give value. So I want to close off this session by asking colleagues to just say off their last 1 minute, summary points, and then we will request you to give your hashtags so that the colleagues who are following this virtually can follow the conversation with you directly.
Just thank you again, Mromzi, for having us here today. I think the only message I'll part with on this, and I hope also my colleague Kusafalo carries this forward to his alumni, is that it really is time for people to start paying it forward. Paying it forward in the way of mentorship, paying it forward in terms of support, and paying it forward in terms of their time. We need corporates and individuals to champion the cause of innovators, of startups, and of SMEs, even when we're not in the room. And I think this is an opportunity where it's a great time in our existence. Right now we're focused on the challenges, but this is a great opportunity to rebuild our ecosystem and create linkages that before were not possible or were going to be much more difficult to create. So I just like to encourage everybody, to pay it forward in that regard. And to the startups, don't give up. There's only somebody willing to listen. There's only somebody who does have time for you. Mr. Tekera and his organization do a great work with young startups. I've seen them, looking at him starry-eyed, and it's good to see that passion being shared by somebody who's representing you in places that you are not represented. In terms of where you can find me, I think the most reliable link to find me will be on LinkedIn. Just search for Kagiso Kwayabe on LinkedIn. On Twitter also, it's Kagiso Kwayabe. I've tried to normalize my social media presence, taking a couple of notes out of Retta Guerra's book. So if you just need to contact me, you can find me there, or you can find me here at the Innovation Hub. I'm always keen to listen and to hear from startups and see what we can do for them. Thank you.
All right. For me, I just wanted to say thank you very much, my brother Moketsi. And this has been an incredible conversation. It's necessary for us to always bring this up to talk, and share ideas and valuable thoughts in and around the issues of entrepreneurship. Not only to just post our thoughts on Facebook to each other, and then we just take them as social media value, but to take them at real conversation value that we can actually monetize and even change policies in and around this, because this is the contribution that are really valuable. I feel like even government, if was to watch this, I'm sure there will be an executive somewhere who will start seeing this entrepreneurship differently because of the submissions that we've made today. But to the rest of the people that are watching today, I want to thank you for watching today's conversation. And if you want to take one thing from me, is that if you are really intentional about the idea and the vision that you have, there is absolutely nothing that is strong enough to stop you. I mean, they cannot stop you. Nothing can stop you but yourself. Until the day you sit down with yourself and close that business and close that thing, nothing else can ever do that. You are the only person who actually has the power. But always remember why you started. Always remember why you got into the journey. Always remember the people that inspired you to get into this thing. And never, ever in your life, be too big to learn from people. I follow people like Moketsi. I follow a lot of people. I listen more than I do speak. And part of the reason why I can speak the way I do is not because I'm gifted in speaking. It's because I have listened and I have learned. And I'm sharing with you what I've learned. The power and the knowledge that I have is because of experience and learning from people. So you can always find me on social media, Hoitsmanje Kutsafalo. My hashtag is GJ Kutsafalo. You can find Project 124 on social media as well. Still hashtag Project 124. My books are available worldwide on Amazon. You can just go into the platform and search for my name, Hoitsman Kutsafalo. You'll see all the list of my books in there. All of them are for business people and entrepreneurs. And that's it from now. Or you can always listen to my show every Monday at 2 p.m. I'll really appreciate that.
All right, colleagues, that's it. The call to action for me, but I'm going to say it on his behalf. So Christopher, if I was to wake up tomorrow morning and look at your Facebook, I would see something like this. Project 124 valued at 30 million pula, calling the private sector in Botswana to join, build this startup journey that has been there for the last 8 years. So if 30 million pula is not the value that you see, I think you are very successful, my brother. That 30 million pula, trust me, is the 8 years that we've put in. And that winner that won yesterday, you better make sure you take yourself along the way because it's part of your success. Rekafiso, I thank you, and I hope that my chief, as you build the new image of the Innovation Hub and the new thinking that you guys are doing there, you bring in partners like Bokuta Falo to help you reshape the innovation ecosystem in Botswana. So colleagues, let me apologize to not mentioning my internet sponsor being Orange. So Orange has been kind enough to sponsor me with and my team with bandwidth or internet for the next 7 days. Gladly, I did not cut, so that means it's working today. And to also thank colleagues from Project 124 who are streaming this live, and also to thank Kagiso on behalf of the Botswana Innovation Hub for making his hour. It's his time, he's paid for this time. But also let me thank the Gen Botswana team that's behind the scenes in broadcasting this. And to conclude, the hashtag is Global Entrepreneurship Week Botswana. That's where you'll find a recording of this session in case if you missed the insights. We have also broadcasted this on the YouTube channel and also on the Project 124 page. So our colleagues officially now, the session is now officially closed. The next one will be viewed on the page in the next few minutes. Thank you, colleagues. Bye-bye.